We all know China has a voracious appetite for lies. China has insulated itself in a chamber of lies. It sees what it wants to see, hears what it wants to hear, and speaks what it wants to say. Most of the time, it's all bunkum, much like China's COVID-19 death figures. But some new findings have shed light on the extent of damage COVID-19 has caused within China. And the results will blow your mind. They are unimaginable. Nobody thought China could cover up such a public health disaster. Yet it did. However, the truth is out now. And welcome. You're watching TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Atul Mishra, and in this video I will tell you about China's massive COVID death scam. Let's begin. Do you know what has happened in China? It's mind-numbing. It shows how a communist state can set the narrative for 1.4 billion people, which they either agree to or die disagreeing with. China was the first country which reported a COVID-19 case. From China, the disease spread across the world, causing millions of deaths. Now here's what might be of particular interest to you. What if I told you that China has stopped counting deaths caused by COVID-19? You'd probably be shocked, but not surprised. It's China. They can do anything, right? But here's the deal. China has not been counting COVID-19 deaths for 2 years now. It stopped counting COVID-19 deaths in April 2020 itself. From April 2020 until January 8th, 2022, which was just this month, China has recorded only 2 COVID-19 related deaths. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it just keeps getting better here on. China has managed to fool the world for 2 years now, but the reality is coming out, and it points to a gigantic scam effectuated by the Chinese Communist Party. According to findings made by George Calhoun, who is the director of the Quantitative Finance Program at Stevens Institute of Technology, the Chinese regime has likely understated the COVID-19 death rate by as much as, wait for it, 17,000% in a systematic data suppression campaign aimed at sustaining its political image across the world. 17,000%. According to the Epoch Times, the findings were based on data as of January generated by a model developed by The Economist. Let's make sense of the numbers now, shall we? The official COVID-19 death count which China has put out is 4,636. But according to the recent findings quoted by the Epoch Times, the number of COVID-19 deaths in China are numbered at around 1.7 million, which is a whopping 366 times higher than the official figure. Yet, China maintains that it has the world's lowest COVID death rate. According to George Calhoun, that's impossible. It's medically impossible. It's statistically impossible. He was quoted by NTD as saying, remember in 2020 there was no vaccine, there was no treatment. So you had an unprotected population that has shown zero COVID deaths, even though they have had tens of thousands of cases. The first smoking gun is a sudden drop of COVID-19 deaths since April 2020 from mainland China, despite a raging rate of infection. According to Calhoun, from April 2020 to now, China has reported over 22,102 cases officially, yet China has reported only 2 deaths. By comparison, Hong Kong, which counted about half as many COVID-19 infections over the period, reported 213 deaths. So unless mainland China has superhumans of some kind, people should have been dying of COVID-19 there as well. Yet according to the CCP, nobody did. The case fatality rate, which is the proportion of those infected who died in Wuhan during the first 3 months of the pandemic, averaged around 7.7%, more than 5 times that of the US and 4 times the world average. It therefore makes no sense for China's official death count to be so incredibly low now. But then we now know that at least 1.7 million have died of COVID-19 in China, even if the CCP is not going to admit it. And then China continues to put millions of people under strict lockdown even today. COVID-19 is still ravaging large parts of the Chinese mainland. Rest assured, many more deaths are being added to the 1.7 million figure on a daily basis. Had China been transparent with the world from the very outset of the pandemic, perhaps things would have panned out differently for it. But now, it's suffering in shame all alone.